Okay, so here is some more about the judger versus perceiver cognitive behavioral things, patterns that I notice, that I've noticed over the years. And it, it took me a very long time to get to look this natural. And the irony of that is going to become more apparent as the video goes on. But I really dressed the part for what I'm going to talk about, which is once again with me, some small and silly sounding yet axiomatic and meaningful thing that I have discerned in my decades of being so ridiculously fascinated by the Myers-Briggs temperament indicator. And it is this. So this time it's more about the perceivers, my people as an ENFP. Something that I noticed a while ago, and then I began to sort of ask friends about who I knew to be Ps. They happen to be all NPs because I know so many of those. And I've been trying it out with all of them and asking them about this. And so far it is a 100% accuracy rate with this axiom I'm proposing. So it'll be, as usual, interesting to see what people in the audience say. If they tell me I'm full of crap, or if they, but again, if you tell me that I'm full of crap and then I ask you how many perceivers have you interviewed about this, and you say, well, one, well, I'm going to blow you off because that's ridiculous. You have a sample size of 1, I have a sample size of 20, so anyway, but of course, say what you want. Say what you want. It's always great. It's always great for people to participate, and I do always appreciate it, even the people who are whatever disagree. So the thing that I have discovered is that that one thing that all the perceivers do is that we all will go to rather drastic lengths at times, certainly I know by judges' standards, pretty drastic lengths, to be comfortable in what we wear. We are pretty much, we're consistently going to insist upon that as a major priority in how we dress ourselves all of the time. And that goes for, weekends at the cottage, lying around in your private pants all weekend, watching Netflix, going to a formal occasion, going to work. It doesn't matter. This is axiomatic. Perceivers will place a high premium, certainly much higher than most of the judgers. Most. This is what I propose. On being comfortable over other reasons for dressing a certain way, such as what looks the best, what's going to please the people that who are going to see you in these clothes, versus projecting a particular kind of image of yourself that you would be useful for you to project and to have perceived the way you want. To perhaps make certain very special or expensive clothes last longer by wearing them very seldom or whatever. Like they're all, I'm just going through all these reasons I can think of that inform how people dress. And I'm telling you, here's the thing I really do think that this is an axiom. With perceivers, whatever kind we are, whichever of the 8 types we are, and whatever our particular individual preferences are, and all our little quirks and our little things, and that really bug us and that we care about in terms of how we present that way and how we feel in our clothes, all of us put a premium on comfort, always. And I think this is something that, that gets us in trouble with our judge, when we're growing up, if we have judger parents or older relatives or people in authority over us who, especially if those are SJs who are, well, it could be any type really, but SJs quite predictably will feel that it's a matter of respect, and that to look conventional for certain high occasions is a matter of respect, and probably to a good extent with a lot of people that have extroverted feeling in the auxiliary position or the dominant position of their type. But yeah, the SJs will probably more predictably than the other 12 types, members of the other 12 types, they're going to perceive, they're going to have a rather fixed idea of what is appropriate dress for such and such an occasion, and are likely to be quite bothered if people are not conforming to that, and will make meaning of that to be just, that kind of apparel to be insulting, perhaps, or just dreadful, and offensive in some way. Anyway, perceivers, yeah, less of them, less of the time, and less so, in general. But yeah, so I would say that the perceivers, we are, here's the thing that I go around asking people, and I put the question to you too, perceivers watching, and I hope that, I can't imagine that very many SPs, artisans, can stand to watch my videos, but if there are any of you in the audience, or happen to be for this segment, I'd love you to weigh in too, because I don't have much data on you guys as concerns this. But yeah, I believe that the perceivers are an untucked nation. An untucked nation. I think it is axiomatic that when we have the option to get away with it, to not lose something important to us by way of employment or friendship or attractiveness in the eyes of the members of the opposite sex that we would like to attract, so on, so on, so on. And even sometimes then, we're going to go to some lengths to see if we can be untucked, for whatever that is. In our outfit, we're like, oh, I don't want something constrictive around my midsection. And I have found this to be true so often, and so much of the case, and so thoroughly, and so wall to wall, that I would go so far as to say that if you find somebody who on a weekend who's like just relaxing, like no big deal, just doing whatever I want. If you see somebody on a weekend who's wearing khakis or jeans and they're tucking their sports shirt in, they're tucking their dress shirt in, I'm saying that, not in all cases, of course, but I would wager 94% of the time that person's a J, because a perceiver would not. We will do all kinds of things to not tuck it in. We really will. We want to be comfortable, and we think it's important. And why is that? Again, I don't want to talk about just behavior, even, except for my really facetious positive ID series. But, here's the cognitive part of that behavioralism. I can speak about the intuitive perceivers' motivations for this. I can't speak about the sensor perceivers, the artisans' reasons for this, unfortunately. So if you guys, again, if you want to say something, I hope you will, about why, to confirm or deny what I'm proposing, and to put your, tell us what's behind what you do, what you tend to do, what you prefer to do when you are quite free, and there would be no negative consequences for pursuing your temperamental inclinations. Yes. So what is for the NPs, for the NFPs, the INFPs, the ENFPs, what rationale is going behind our insisting on prioritizing comfort somewhere, importantly, in whatever we wear? That has to do with the drive towards authenticity that our auxiliary introverted feeling makes us consider. And when you have introverted feeling high up in your, it's the dominant position in INFP. When you have when you have introverted feeling high up in your cognitive function stack, what that means is that, among other things, you have a really strong drive for authenticity. It will predictably be one of your very, very high values in your very considered value system, to which you are, to a certain extent, enslaved. Like you have to, we can't help but pay attention to it and think a lot about our value system. And it's rather internal and subjective, and very, very, very considered and pretty complicated. And a predictable value for NFPs is that how one looks should not determine what you make of that person. that if you yourself are a good person or an intelligent person, what you're going to do is not judge people and consider people lower, give people less value because they don't look good. We consider that a disgusting and unworthy value, and we're pretty much come out of the womb with that already implanted. We already are just like, we have no patience. We don't value that. We do not value the idea that people should be treated and valued according to how they look, whether that be their skin color or the style of dress they have or anything else. That's not what you should be looking to in terms of what to value in a person. So that's part of why we have the nerve. That's a big part of the reason why we have the nerve to pursue this this prioritization of comfort in how we dress. Why the NTs do it, the NTPs, ENTPs, and INTPs. And here's the other interesting thing too, is of course you see all of us, because all those 4 types, the ENTP, INTP, ENFP, INFP, those 4 types have extroverted intuition and extremely creative thinking function with an exterior world objective focus to its cogitative processes. And when you have NE in any prominence, it's de facto your weirdness, your creativity, your creative thinking is projected outwards in how you look. In most cases. Now, of course, there are some INFPs that really dress down and they don't stand out particularly visually. Same thing for the NTPs. However, when you see someone looking really, really wild and really like, I'm going to wear this, I don't give a fuck, like I'm going to wear, this is pretty outrageous, but I like it. And I know it stands out in the crowd, but I'm good with that. Chances that you're looking at an NP are very, very high. Because what these 4 types are very different from one another, but what we all have in common is that we dress to please ourselves first. That's a very important thing to us, and we don't make any apologies about it. So we don't, again, there's, for the NFPs, there's a desire to please people, and we care about people's feelings, and we like to please people. We're people pleaser. I mean, we don't always succeed. I know a lot of people with prominent FE are laughing at themselves about that one. But I mean, we would like to, but again, we have a caveat, if we can be ourselves and please other people, then we will really want to please other people. But a big part of being ourselves is wearing what we want. And that's in accordance with our value systems, which are very, very, very important to us and we cannot ignore. So, sorry. So that's, yeah, all the NPs, we dress to please ourselves. And very often pleasing ourselves too involves being comfortable, being untucked. So the reason why the NTs, how they just, from what I've gathered talking to them about it, you can also kind of guess this if you look into the type descriptions in detail. It also is a matter of values, but different from the NFPs. It's different. For the NTPs, what they value very, very, very highly and what they have to pay attention to all the time is rationality and what's logical. So as far as they're concerned, it's not that they don't know that they're displeasing some people by, putting weird color in their hair or wearing, something that's really informal, more informal than everybody else at some formal occasion or whatever. As an INTP ex of mine did, he wore jeans to his own wedding. So, and the INFP he was marrying was not, she wasn't dressed up either. And that was a very deliberate choice. And they were not apologizing to the SJs in the family about it. They're like, this is our wedding. This is what we are. So there you go. And by this time, the SJ relatives who love them, they've many a battle has been fought, and they've learned that they're not going to get anywhere with these people. So they're never going to convince them of the right way to do things. So they just love their NPs and deal with it. They joke around, they suck it up, and I'm sure they talk about it amongst themselves and, like blow off some steam, but they accept it ultimately. Yeah, so the NTPs, what they can't abide is what is illogical. And they certainly are not going to volunteer to A, be uncomfortable, and then B, to do it for reasons that they think are completely worthless, that are not logical. And they too they tend to have a very sort of live and let live attitude, and they tend to not make judgments of people based on their appearances. They do that much less often than most other types. So partially because they just don't really care. They're not really thinking about most other people. They're not really thinking about they're not even thinking about their own stuff. They're thinking about ideas a lot of the time. Certainly not thinking about other people's feelings all the time. And they really couldn't give a shit. They couldn't care less about a bunch of people who are much more conventional than they are. What those people getting all in a huff about the fact that they wore some comfortable shoes to such and such a party. Like, they just think that's the most worthless thing to be thinking about at all, and they'll have no part of it, and they're not going to apologize for it. So that's kind of what's behind that, the Untucked Nation. As for the SPs, would love to hear from you guys about this, if you have anything you want to chime in on about. And to anyone who is watching, as usual, thanks a lot. Bye.